Welcome to the Blue Collar Barbarians podcast, brought to you by the Blue Collar Barbarians Network, your source for all things savagery. Today I got my special friend, Jason Savaria with Holster Gator, who I'm very excited to talk to today because this is one of our show sponsors. And Jason, thank you for that, by the way, and thank you for taking the time to join
Absolutely.
us. Obviously, with Holster Gator being today's guest, Mr. Holster Gator himself, this show is brought to you today in part by Holster Gator. And I'm going to go ahead and just throw it on the front. We're going to go ahead and give away a Ridge belt and a Holster Gator with the Blue Collar Barbarians logo on it. At the end of the episode today, you will hear how, or look for the post. One or the other, watch for that. So you'll get a chance to win one of these beautiful clips and a belt to go with it. Well, it doesn't really need that, but you'll get a belt too because tactical. Why not? Thank you, Ridge Belts, for that. And thank you, Holster Gator, for sponsoring today's show. Jason, my man, thank you so much
Absolutely.
for taking the time to be here today. I really appreciate
Thanks for
you.
inviting me, Jonathan.
Of course, dude. You were actually one of our grassroots sponsors, man, and I've been really excited to talk to you and to get to know you because anybody that takes the time to invest in, take a risk even on somebody new, and invest in somebody that's chasing their passion and just trying to deliver value to our community, I have an automatic level of respect for. So I want to thank you. Thank you for being a part of this. It's been awesome. This has been fun, and it really wouldn't be possible without people like you. So,
Oh, you're welcome, Jonathan. What you do is a good thing.
yeah,
From the beginning, like I said, we gotta support these guys. So
yeah. Well, trust me when I
you're welcome.
say it's appreciated from all the way around. But getting in today's show, I'm really excited because you, my friend, as we were just talking a little bit pre-show, have probably one of the cooler stories of how you got to go work through the ranks of blue collar to now where you're doing your own thing and you've turned your interests and your passions and your hobbies into a way to provide for your family and build a legacy, which is something I'm personally learning as I do this podcast and as I venture into other things with my photography and other aspirations that I'm involved in. But man, I just really can't wait. I want to dive right in here because I want to know, tell me about how you got in, tell our audience how you got into the blue collar world.
So I guess it started like right off the rip. I worked at Burger King, dealing face to face with the public. I was 16 years old, and my dad was a blue collar worker, and he instilled in us, get out there and go to work. So right out the gate at 16, started working at Burger King, worked there for a couple years, worked my way up to shift supervisor. It wasn't feeling it, it wasn't the cool job back then. So I jumped into cutting grass
Okay.
for a company that was quite a distance away. I cut grass for them for a couple years and worked my way onto a landscaping team. So, they noticed that I was busting my butt, and so I moved on to the landscaping team. Really busted my butt there. We were doing, full scale landscape jobs, stonework, you name it, we did it, and learned to run all the heavy equipment, skid steers, excavators, tractors,
What was your
anything, all the
favorite?
machines that. My favorite was definitely the skid steer.
Really?
It was like I can't dance worth a crap, and in the skid steer, you're moving them handles around. You can dance with the machine. So I love doing that, and you become passionate about even something so simple as running a, a skid steer, and running a skid steer is not simple. It's an art, and yeah,
Yeah.
you can do beautiful things with those machines.
Yeah, I was just curious.
And
I was
so
in a skid steer today myself, but an excavator ever since I was like this big, just a wee little guy. Dude, fucking excavator makes you feel like Superman, especially you get like
Oh yeah,
a 245 or something. It's got a claw. You're picking up trees and chucking them. I just
yeah.
ever since I was a kid, man. But sorry to interrupt you there. I had to know what
No,
was
that's
your
okay.
favorite.
Yeah. So I did that, and I stayed on the landscape team for a while, became the foreman of the landscape team, and I did that for say probably 7 or 8 years, and that's when the gas prices started to go up, and I was spending about 120 bucks a week just to get back and forth to work, and it wasn't feasible anymore. So I took a job making wire rope and chain slings for Haynes Supply, local company here, and we would make rigging equipment for crane operators and other heavy lifting like loggers and stuff like that. And that was really ball busting work, man. I had forearms like Popeye,
I can
because
only imagine.
you're twisting like 1 inch wire rope into Flemish loops, and yeah, man, that was tough. I'd go home every day just completely drenched. You'd wear a white T-shirt, and it would look like you come out of a wet T-shirt contest. So, and that wasn't even really that good a pay. It was just it made you feel like a man. You're
There is
taking
something
this wire rope,
satisfying.
and oh yeah, when you're manipulating things that lift up 90 tons, there's something satisfying about that. You're making that stuff, and
So
you're
that's
making
like
it with
that.
your bare hands.
So that's like that. This is what I call that. I almost don't even want to say this because some people are like roll their eyes at this, but like to live, you got to suffer, right? Like there's an
Oh yeah,
appreciation from it. So like as a crane operator myself, when I do this, like there's something about like walking into a job site and it's a crisp cold morning and you look up, you see the iron workers walking across the iron, being all caddy like, with their balance, like going across the beams and the silhouettes of people and the sound of chains dragging it. It's like that grit, that fortitude of like you've earned it. Like when you get your check at the end of the week or whatnot, because in the construction world, turnover is so high they have to pay you every week because you like, Monday you might not show up. But like
yeah,
when you get that check, like dude, it's like a earned, like this is my money. I went and got this
yeah,
money. And then
yeah.
the
And
physical.
you can. Oh, go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. No,
I
no, you're
think we were
good.
going. I think we were going to the same spot. You look at your hands and you see, 5 calluses the size of walnuts, and that's your paycheck right there in your hands. So
Yeah. Yeah, it's like that cubicle was cool and all, dude, but you got these. I don't know.
right.
It's just very primal, I guess is what we're trying to say. It's a very fulfilling primal feeling, right? So
Yeah,
so you did that
that's a good
for.
word for it.
Yeah, it is. That's just at the root of it to me, right? Like I say this, you've heard me say this in some of the previous episodes, but knuckledraggers. I mean, because that's what we are. Like as blue collar people, especially the barbarians. And when I say the barbarians, like I'm not talking about your guy that just shows up and does. I'm talking about the guy that shows up and takes pride in his work, but the guy that looks to
Right.
do more, like this plus one, right? Like the guy that
Yep.
wants to just crush every day. I mean, we all are excited to get out of there when the dinner bell rings, right? Like we're all excited to go home. Don't get me wrong. But the knuckle dragging to me, there will never be anything like it. There will never be anything like what even from the crane, man. I get to watch some of these guys, and it's just like there's Mopey and Dopey, and then there's the kid that's going to be running. There's the kid that's going to be running work 2 years from now. I mean, you could just
Yeah.
boop, it sees it, and I don't know. I got a deep respect for that, and as a crane guy, it's kind of cool to hear that you made that shit because. Dude, I don't even like changing the mouses and the hooks, to be honest with you. So I can't imagine. I
Yeah.
can't imagine weaving the
Yeah.
braided wire
Oh
and
man.
oh, that's terrible.
Telling you,
So how long did you do
I
that?
used I did that for, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 years,
Holy cow!
and yeah, I equate making the Flemish loops for the wire rope slings as what I would think of like wrestling an alligator. Sometimes we would twist up inch and a half rope, and it would take two of us, two full grown men, and we'd just be, wrenching on it just to get the strands inside of the sleeve. So
No.
that was ball busting work, man.
Yeah, well, it sounds like it. See, you earned that little bit of that blue collar heritage, and then where'd you go from there?
So when I was there, a buddy of mine said, "Hey, General Electric is hiring," and back then GE was like that was the gig you wanted. So I said, let's drive out and take their test because they put on like a mass testing thing where you have to look at dials going and you have to keep track of them. So we went up, took the test. I got the call a couple months after the test, and you know they asked me to come in for an interview. And I made my bosses aware of it. I said, hey, look, I just want to better myself. And they totally understood. And they said, more power to you. It'd be sad to see you go, but it'd make us happy to see you to succeed. So went through the interview process and got hired on by GE. I was a crane operator for
There you
GE.
go.
I was the move guy. So if something needed moving, whether it be crane or a tug car, then that was my gig. And I did that for, I want to say, a year or two. I was working overnight shifts, 11 o'clock at night to 7 in the morning. And at that time, I was a single dad, and my son was, I don't know, 4 or 5 years old, maybe 4. So it was really tough. And that's when I met my wife, thankfully. She's a blessing. And, I was doing that for a while, and then they opened up what they called the Machinist program there. And I knew what a machinist was. My dad was a machinist. My grandpa was a machinist. My great grandfather was a machinist. So I was familiar with the term, not familiar with what it actually entailed. So I was like,
Right.
hey, what the hell? Uh, I'll take that test. I took the test, was accepted into the program, signed the contract, and GE pledged to put me through 2 years of trade school. And I kicked ass in college at that. It was advanced manufacturing technologies. And let me tell you, when I went to the machining side as building 273 over at GE in Schenectady, where they do all the machining. When they put me on the first machine and I was shadowing one of the machinists there, as soon as I seen that first chip get cut right off of the field, the the inner part of the generator, I saw that piece of metal get just peeled off like it was butter. Man, if something lit up inside of me. It was like I had this little tiny birthday candle flame that turned into this roaring bonfire inside of me. And I was like, this is what I am going to fucking do for the rest of my life. And I'm going to love it. And from that point on, man, I was just straight passion.
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool because so like I definitely would consider machinist blue collar. I mean, there's you don't
Oh,
get
yeah,
much more blue
man.
collar than that. But like I just think about your journey, right? So like you come up from Burger King of all things to like, oh,
Yeah.
I'll try something different, make a little bit more money landscaping, change of pace, to run in that crew to assume because you seem like the type of dude that probably got bored with that, was ready for more. To they gave you the foreman position, and then yeah, like this is cool, but it's not really paying, and I could work closer to home and make the same or close money. And
Right.
at some point you had a kid in there, and then
Yeah.
being a dad, and then you got the opportunity to go to like, we don't have G&E out here, right? We got that's PGE out on the where I'm at,
Yeah.
Portland
Yeah.
General Electric, but which is probably GE, but with Portland added or something. But out, I think like that is kind of the pinnacle of, I won't say it's like the pinnacle, but in the blue collar trades, if you were to become like a consultant or upper echelon with like a power company, I mean, you're making money, right? And
Yeah, yep, for sure.
you work out in the shit weather and all that shit. But if you can make it, like, you got, you're good. Life is good. The benefits are good. So I can only imagine what was going through your head when you found out, like, oh shit, I not only did this opportunity come up, but like I did it, and now I'm, and then everything you've done to this point is take pride, right? Which is, we'll talk
Oh
about
yeah,
that,
for
because
sure.
I feel like that is missing from a lot of people's game right now, right? Like, you
Yep.
just took pride in what you did, and then you did so well as a crane operator for GE, and a mover, or whatever they call it, that they were like, hey, would you be, if we're going to do this program, and why wouldn't we send you to do it if you want to do it, right? Like, another opportunity for advancement, essentially,
Yeah.
correct?
Yep.
And then here you
Yeah.
are again. Here you are again. Just even with a kid, even with as a single father and having a kid, just, mad respect to you for this, but just paving the road, dude. Just like, obstacle overcome, bored, time to grow, time to climb the ladder. To me, like, when I got out of the Marine Corps, I struggled for a long time. For like the first, full transparency, the first like 3 or 4 years I got out, I got robbed of, like, I couldn't hold interest. So I got out of the military. I flew helicopters, of all things, for 10 months. That's what I was. I was a helicopter pilot. I just got out and
Badass.
I went to school to fly helicopters, because why not? Airplanes are for the birds, right? Like, I'm going to go fly the thing that defies gravity. So that's what I wanted to learn. So I jumped into learning that. But then, like, I woke up one day and it was boom. So for me, PTSD was never like, oh, I woke up with night sweats, or I wanted to fight everybody I'm in the room with, or it was never that. It was just like, it robbed me of my joy. It robbed me of, like, interests and stuff. So, what I'm getting at with this, just to save our audience from some boohoo long story, but what I'm getting at here is that, like, for me, it took all my joy. And then finally I got to a point where I was sitting on a couch and I was like, man, I got to find something that I got to do something. I can't keep switching careers every 2, 3, 4 months, 6 months, or whatnot. I can't, at this point, I've done a lot of different shit up to this point, like a lot.
Yeah.
And for me, like, even in this career I'm in now, like, I'm 10 years in doing cranes. I've been doing this for 10, 11 years now. And there's no more ladder. Like, sure, you could, like, maybe get on a taller tower crane, or I could go and try to get on a crew to run like a bigger, heavier crawler, but I'm there. Like, there's not like, oh, from here I can move here, and like that's where it's time to get out. Like, I got to have more. I'll never be satisfied with, this is good enough, or this is good, right? Like, and
It's
you
the
seem like that
thirst.
kind of
Yeah.
yeah. Like, you
Yeah.
remind me, like, you just come across like that, and then, like, in all the respectful ways, not in like a bad or inconsistent person like
Right.
me, but just like, I'll never be satisfied with not knowing where my barrier is. Like, I'm never going to not be hungry for more. It doesn't mean that I'm not thankful. It sounds like you had a lot to be thankful of. You just, opportunity, you climbed the ladders, you crushed it. But one thing I really respect about, like, and I like about this story already, you just kept going. Like, if I could lateral, I lateraled. If I moved over to here, I did this. Like,
Yeah.
sure, there's setbacks to that, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure you had to go through adverse situations. I mean, am I wrong?
Oh no, man. You get dragged through the dirt through all that, You get kicked right down. I mean, I was taking pay cuts the whole way, just trying to find what was next. I see a door, I'd kick it in. And like you just said, you do it for a while, it get a little boring. You're like, oh man, you get this thirst and this hunger inside. Like, I know I'm better. I know I can do better. I just need to find it. And then you see another door and you kick that door in, and it's just this cascading effect until you find something that just, like I explained it earlier, man, it's like a birthday candle flame that turns into a raging bonfire. And
Mm-hmm.
thankfully, I was lucky enough to find that. I mean, it was, in hindsight, it was always in me. I'm a fourth generation machinist, all the way back to my great grandfather. So it was there. It was just a little tiny flame. And thankfully, I'm very thankful for GE, in that situation, because they said, "Oh, look at that little flame, let's dump 55 gallons of gasoline on that," and just
Yeah.
exploded. But yeah, there was a lot of hard times for sure. I was the overnights working 11 o'clock at night till 7 in the morning. I had my son, and my wife had came into the marriage with two daughters, so it was rough. She carried me really, through school. I was working, going to school, working overnights. Well, no, I wasn't working overnights when I was in school, but I still had to go to work part time and then to school. So it was, outside of GE paying for every penny of my schooling, the burden was definitely on me too. I can't let this fail, you know.
So here's the opportunity. Give me the effort,
Right.
essentially.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah. And you did that.
Oh yeah,
And
I
so
kicked
parlay
ass.
that for me. So you finished school. Now you're a fourth generation machinist.
Yep.
You're training up on it. You see that thing cut. You're like, oh shit, this is it. I'm there. This is what I want to
Yeah.
do. So what do you do with that?
So right out of school, I graduate and I move up to 25 rate machinist at GE, which is it's good pay, you know, not in today's economy, but back then it was really good money. But I was working 11 at night till 7 in the morning. So, kids' soccer games, just family activities, seeing my wife, spending the quality time with her because that was kind of early on in our relationship. So there was definitely some outward pressure, and I was, to be very blunt with you, I was falling apart rapidly. I was getting 3 or 4 hours of sleep a night, but you know, the money that I was making afforded us to buy our own home, get some get some vehicles that weren't, questionable. So, you know, but it was killing me. Um, I was irritable, all that fun stuff that comes along with lack of sleep. But I had to push myself forward, and I worked. I was a machinist at GE for I think 3 years, working that overnight shift, doing very well. My ops leaders loved me. I was really kicking ass. The union kind of hated me, but I was taking machining operations that would take 7 days to complete, and I was really crunching them down to a couple days, and that wasn't you know unions don't like that kind of stuff. So I love unions. I love what they represent. Um, but there was some pressure from there as well. But that still didn't stop me. I still had a family there. So come 2018, um, the world finds out that GE was cooking their books the entire time, and we saw it out on the floor.
Oh,
They were like, "Oh, record numbers," and we were all over the news, and we are like, "Wait a minute, the floor is empty. There's really no parts are coming in. What the hell is this about?" Well, come to find out, they were cooking their books, and the big I got caught up. I survived two layoffs and got caught up in the third one, and they laid me off. And prior to all that, every bad situation that I came out of, I turned into a good situation. So I think that's very important for not only blue collars, but just for the young people out there entering the workforce. Just because you get thrust into a bad situation, try to find the light in it, because there is light. It may just be, a little tiny flicker, but grab that flicker and turn it into something, because it's there. I guarantee it. I promise every person out there, every bad situation has some light. And if you grab a hold of that and just run with it and let it grow and feed it, you're going to come out on top every single time. And I'm living proof of that. So GE, laid me off, and I was like, well, shit, what the hell am I going to do? That was pinnacle for me. And I went to Package One Industries and started, oddly enough, started machining smaller parts for GE. And that led me to where I did that for a little bit, and that was kind of just like a stepping stone. Um, that led me to where I am today at Specialty Silicone Products and into, I'm a machinist there. Well, I started out as a machinist, and then I worked with some pretty badass dudes. Like, these dudes knew. One of them was Phil Wager, um, and Nate Wager, and they actually own their own company now, Wager Machine Works. And I got into a tool and die maker apprenticeship. And if you know machinists, like, tool and die maker that's the tippy top. So I got into a 4-year apprenticeship there, worked alongside with Nate, and my current coworker now, Pat Allen, and he's also a tool and die maker. So he kind of took me under his wing as well. Completed that 4-year apprenticeship a couple months ago, actually, and now
Well,
thank you,
congratulations.
sir. And now I'm a full-fledged tool and die maker. But it was like what you and I were talking earlier. It's like you're always looking for that next door to kick in because you get bored. And now tool and die maker is like the tippy top of my class. So it's like, what the hell do you do now? I guess I got to invent something, you know? So
Run the shop.
yeah, run the shop.
That's the next move, general manager,
Nah,
maybe.
nah, I'm not.
You don't like the
No,
bureaucracy.
yeah, like I, I had my fill when I was, the foreman on the landscape team. I like working shoulder to shoulder with guys. I don't like barking orders at them. So
Yeah, I can understand that. I can understand that. So backing up just half a step, because I think that there's something that people really miss. Like when you were talking about looking for the light, I don't think anybody missed it, but I just want to highlight this. I picture like you're going back to our primal
hmm
thing. You're striking. You found a striker, or you found a rock that's sharp enough, and you found this thing that will throw a spark, and you need heat to survive, right? And you're just one after next, just striking, 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 and then you finally get that tiny little ember, and it's there. It lands in your wad of you. It lands
yeah,
in your tinder, right? And you're kindling for real, and you're just blow, just real, just blow on, just
just
giving it
feed it.
oxygen, just giving it oxygen, like you know that it's in there, and you're just feeding it. And right now, especially, I think it's super important with this time of year. It's Christmas time coming right up. We just had Thanksgiving and the holidays. Man, it's heavy in the world. It's not a surprise to you, like we were talking about pre-show, but like it's just there's a lot
Yeah,
going on right now. There's a lot of corrupt shit. There's a lot of heavy shit, and the holidays are just hard on people in general all the time. And for those people that might be, and I really like. I know I drive this home every episode, but it's just because I care, man. I fucking care. Um, for the people that might be going through it, though, like you got to understand that everything that is happening to you is an opportunity. Everything, good, bad, ugly, beautiful,
just gave
doesn't
me
matter. Like
goosebumps, man.
every ounce of
Yeah,
that is an opportunity. Yeah,
for real.
but it's the truth, dude. Every bit of that is an opportunity for you to redefine yourself or to forge yourself
Yep.
more, right? And like when you were talking, dude, about like find the light, I literally, it's crazy where I sound when you were saying that. I was just picturing me being this Neanderthal, right? Just blowing air into this, what seems hopeless wad of tinder. Just huffing and puffing, trying to blow your house down, like Three Little Piggy story, and just waiting, because I know that on one of
It's
those
gonna
puffs,
explode. Yeah. Yep.
here comes the flame. And that one flame, it could change your life. It could be the next flip the page in your story. It could be any of that. So, Jason, one, thank you for saying that and sharing that with people, because God, that's so powerful. But two, if you're in the audience right now and you're listening to this, and when you hear this, just know, like, don't stop blowing. Don't stop trying. Don't stop kicking on the door. Don't stop knocking. Don't stop running. Don't stop crawling. I don't care what you have to do.
Yep.
Don't stop.
I'll tell you something. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Because
Something that I
no,
tell my
please go.
kids very often, and I think I can't remember my dad telling it to me, and I don't know where I got it from, but I tell it to my kids often. I don't care uh, if you're standing still, you're not moving forward. If you're walking backwards, obviously you're going backwards. I don't care if you're taking baby steps forward, just move forward. And I hope that hits home with
Mm-hmm.
them. You know, just we get stuck.
Well, look at the
Oh,
example they have to
thanks.
follow.
I
Look at the
appreciate that.
example. No, no, for real, man. Like that's the example. You're putting that out there in the world too, that energy. Like, believe it or not, I believe in God, and I believe that everything happens for a reason personally, but, like, call it energy, call it the universe, whatever people like to label it these days. Like, what you
For
put out
sure.
is what you will get, right? And, like, that's also what you attract. And I think people need to really consider that. I mean, we'll get into that when we get into Q&A discussion, because we
Yep.
could go back and forth all day on this. But um, I really want to commend you for taking the time to highlight that to people, that you got, you're going to have a fight. Like it, want it, don't like it, you're going to have a fight. It's coming. Ready or not, here we are, right? So, especially in today's world, folks, you
And
got a dog fight coming, and the only thing you're going to have is
yeah,
resolve and hope,
each fight you get into makes you more of a battle-tested warrior. So, you know, take advantage of those situations. You get knocked down, even if it takes you a little bit to get back up, reflect on that. Like, how did I get back up? And what made me get back up, and feed off of it. So,
mm-hmm. That, yeah, and that, I mean, and that reflects your story, right? From A to B to C to M, back to B for a second, now to essentially your Z, right? Like, until you invent something. And speaking of inventing something,
that
where does
brings
that
up,
bring us to?
before I get into that, I just wanted to thank you for your service. So I appreciate that.
Hey, I appreciate that, man.
Um,
Thank you.
that gets us to
Thank you.
Holster Gator. So it, man, we just fell on this. So I'm well versed in CAD design. That was part of school, and I do it at work too. And that's drawing models on the computer with software. And my wife knew it, and we're avid concealed carry pistol permit holders, avid gun owners, avid hunters. We love guns. We love the Second Amendment. We love the Constitution. So
Patriotic.
my
Heck
wife
yeah.
works from home, and shit started getting crazy in the world, especially during COVID. And she wanted to keep her pistol at her desk in her office. And I was like, all right, cool. I'll buy you one of those magnet things you can stick your pistol to. And she was up for it. So I installed that underneath her desk, and she kept it there a couple times. And I came home one day, and she called me into the office. I said, what's up? She said, I knocked this goddamn thing off of the magnet. again. And she was like, from the time it comes off the magnet to the time it hits the floor, it seems like an eternity. I'm waiting for that thing to hit the floor. And as you can imagine, nobody wants to drop a loaded gun. So she looks up at me with
No.
those wife eyes that is a suggestion, but also a demand, and says, do something. Yeah, fix it.
Fix it.
And she said, do something about it. And I was like, well, shit, man, what am I going to do? You know, they don't sell anything else for like that. So I thought about it and we came up with the Holster Gator. And what the Holster Gator does, it's a tool that uses, so this is a concealed carry holster. Pistol goes in here. This is your belt clip that goes on your belt. And I realize that they are a belt clip, but this is also a tool. And at the time it was an underutilized tool. So I designed the Holster Gator to the specific form of a lot of the belt clips that are out there in the industry. And this one happens to be the DCC monoblock, and this is sold by a company called Discrete Carry Concepts. Very popular. It's popular for a reason because, it's a very well made spring steel. And what the Holster Gator does is I don't know if you can see this, maybe, maybe not, but in here, it captures
Yep.
the same design. I'll put it against my neck. Captures the same design of the loops on the belt clips or the arms, and kind of just locks. Oh, that was turned around. So if you can see in there, the belt clip slides right into the slot, and it holds your holster. So I mean, that thing it doesn't lock in, but the form is so fitting to each individual belt clip that I can push this thing. If you have to get it right on its center line to get it on and off. Excuse me. So
Yeah, no, you're good. And for our audience, he's showing if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see that he's demonstrating. He's showing you his concealed carry, and he's showing you the actual holster
yep,
gator itself, and how it works. And if you're listening to this, go ahead and jump on our YouTube and check it out. Or you can go to Holster Gator social media, and there's all sorts of stuff on
yeah,
there showcasing this. And that's just Holster
yep.
Gator on Instagram.
That's okay.
Sorry about that. I just wanted to throw that out there for
So
our guys.
this device, yeah, you can notice the screw holes in it. So you can screw it into anywhere you want, your vehicle, underneath your desk, table, uh, helicopter if you want to fly helicopters again. Um, and we provide the screws. We also provide 3M's VHB tape. VHB stands for very high bond, and this stuff is insane. I don't know what the hell they make it out of, but it is stronger than anything you can buy. We provide the primer to clean the surface, alcohol pads to prep the surface, and there's a business card in there that will, if you scan the QR code, it'll send you to our website for video installation instructions. And as of today, I think we
Very nice.
cover all the major belt clips that are on the market. You have Ulti-Clip, you have the foamy belt clip, the DIY belt clip, DCC monoblock, Talon restraint systems. If you have an alien gear holster, that the DCC monoblock will line right up to their holes. And if we don't carry it, just shoot me a message and I can design a brand new Holster Gator for your belt clip, and I'll even give it to you for free just for helping us out, add another product to our inventory. So that's that.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
cool. That's really cool. So on the Holster Gator thing, so You come home one day, your wife gives you the fix it
Yeah.
before I leave you
Yeah.
eyes, and or be a problem solver
Hmm.
now, not later, and you dive into that, and then your machining background. I'm sure as you're looking at what the hell am I going to do? The
Yep.
stupid magnet won't hold it, right? Like what the hell? Then your machining background wheels just start turning. And for those of you that are unaware, when he spoke about CAD, it's a very advanced computer system that if any of you guys are into like 3D printing and different stuff like that, I'd suggest that you learn it so
Oh
that you could really understand that. But it's an exponential, like in a layman's terms, essentially, it's a design program that you can put together, map out something, and then transfer that to a
yeah. Right.
machine, and it cuts it to specification and shows 3D renderings and all sorts of shit. And it's been pretty cool to see. My dad grew up doing granite, and like so, I remember when CNCs came, and it was super confusing, like programming from
Yeah.
cutting on a table saw with a radial to now the machine
Hmm.
just does it. It's
It's pretty wild.
it's wild, 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 wild. Anyway, I'll digress. So you take your background, because there's somewhere I want to go with this, right? And this is super important, especially for our audience. So as Jason already shared, he went through the ladder of climbing and trying to find his way, and then ultimately, ironically, he ends on his lineage of machinery, of a machinist. Excuse me, not machinery, but being a machinist. And not only does he do that, but as he progresses through that, he gets another opportunity, right? Okay, barbarians, pay attention here. Has another opportunity. It takes a step back, going back
Yep.
to apprenticeship essentially, but to take himself to the next level, right? The next step. Then he gets into tooling, which then gave you the opportunity, because you're being modest here and humbling and humble, and I appreciate that. But let's talk about the little hardcore. You take your background and all the experience you have in doing all this shit, and now your wheels are spinning on, okay, well, there's all these different little products out there,
Right.
but this is missing. This is flat out missing from the market space. And he's talking about his own product from an owner standpoint of not trying to sell because he's being polite. But what they're offering you with this system, folks, is an opportunity for those of you that want to feel safe in any environment, any place, any condition, an opportunity to essentially take your concealed carry holster or even your outer waistband,
Yeah, you
right?
can.
You can take your
As
regular
long as it has a belt clip.
in certain formats. I mean that. Yep. So
Right.
anything that's got a clip, essentially, of any of your holster configurations, for all you nerds that have 5 different ones or gear junkies like we are, you could literally take it, you could stick it to your wall, you could stick it to your desk, you could stick it in your car, you could stick it on your dirt bike, I mean, your boat, your four-wheeler, your
Anywhere.
camper, you
Yeah.
name it. You could put it there
Yep.
anywhere, if your wife wants one above the awning in the backyard somewhere, it's there. And it's actually a really cool thing. And where I want to parlay here before moving on to the next topics, where we kind of get into some Q&A stuff. One thing as you've done with this, what's been kind of cool, and this is I just for clarification here, has it been pretty rewarding to kind of see how you've been able to take something you found you were missing, apply like your background, and then all that bullshit you went through to get to where you are today, and then be able to apply it, and then take something that you already are interested in, being machinist stuff and creating things. And that's part of it. If you guys don't know what machinists are, they're nerds when it comes to
Yes, we are.
building shit. They just figure out how to make shit and put
Yep.
it together, and then it's out there. And,
Yeah.
and I say that respectfully, right? Because I am not that guy. I have all these creative ideas, but I tell it to people
Hmm.
like you that make it real for me, right? Like, so what you do is you take all that shit and you put it together, and now you're able to find a niche in something else that's meaningful and
Yeah.
turn it
It
into a
was.
business. And not only do you turn it into a business where you can provide, but now you're filling a gap in an industry. Has it been pretty rewarding to be able to see your product go out there and like
Dude,
fill a
it's
hole?
fucking
Like, what's that
surreal.
been like?
It really is. Sometimes I still
Yeah.
don't really I try to keep myself grounded as much as possible. But you know, when somebody looks at us or
Sure.
looks at me and says, "Wait a minute, you have a patent?" And I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, it's you know we're patent pending, but you know it's going to turn into when they're like, holy shit, you know." So it's pretty surreal. And you know, from something that started out in coming out of my wife's mouth to in here to I'm holding it in my hand now and I sell hundreds of thousands of these things. I don't know, man. I feel like I'm dreaming sometimes. You know, we took something that my wife had, and then my brother-in-law saw and goes, "What the hell is that?" And I said, "Oh, that's the Holster Gator," you know. And he's like, "I want one." So I give him one, and then his friend wants one, and then you know, Steph and I are talking. I'm like, "Do we have something here? Like, what the heck is this?" And now we
Oh,
supply
heck yeah.
holster manufacturers and you know shooting supply companies from hobbyist holster makers all the way to some of the biggest companies in America. So it's like I'm on cloud nine, man. So like as you were saying before,
You
it's
should
like
be. But that's,
all the bullshit. You know, I
no,
look
go
back at
ahead.
all the bullshit that I went through to get myself to a point where I have a fucking patent, you know, or I'm gonna get a patent. It means nothing now. Those were all just they were training me for this, you know. And back then I was like, this sucks.
Yeah, literally
So
that
it
fight.
went from in the moment like this sucks to looking back now going, that was just training.
So, yeah. So that fight, that proverbial fight that we were talking about
Yeah.
earlier, you're literally round for round, and then you might have got punched in the face 25 times, but when you landed it. That when that jab came or that left hook, I mean, that was that
Thank you.
southpaw, and for you, I mean, congratulations, one, because it's cool from a consumer standpoint to um, a little bit of
Hmm.
background. I'm sure you've seen, like, I do a lot of photography stuff, and I've done a lot of different photography stuff for like the outdoor industry and different facets of. And I was able to take like something I just enjoy taking pictures and then try to create an emotion with an item, right? Is kind of my thing. Like, how can I take something and figure out how to make it emotional in a
Yeah, for sure.
paused, like hit pause and then take your cell phone and
Yeah, yeah.
how do you make it cool at you know what I'm saying? And that's what I like to play with. But so like, it's cool from that standpoint, the creative, I guess, side of it, to see somebody create something, come up with something, bring it to market, and then very fast just because I remember, I'm
Oh,
partners in the
no
media
shit.
company that built your logo. So, well, I am
Nice.
now. I wasn't a partner at the time. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, yeah. So, I remember when I was getting rough draft of your logo sent to me, like, hey, what do you think? And I'm doing this for this, and I was like, what the hell is that? To like now, everybody that I follow for my
Nice.
firearm photography
Yeah.
stuff has one. You know what I mean? Like, everybody's got one, and like you were saying, half the manufacturers are sell it on their
Yeah.
website with their logo blasted on it. Hell, I got one that's got my
Hell yeah.
Barbarian on it sitting in a box. We're gonna give one away actually at the end of the show here. Um, but yeah, what a dream! And you know what's even cooler, man, is you get to know
Yeah, for sure.
you're keeping people safe.
Yep. Yep.
You're a part of somebody's safety net. You know, in a small way, you're a part of somebody's safety net now, and I can't imagine just how incredibly satisfying
Yeah.
that is too. Um, to our just for our audience's sake here, because on that, right? So small business owner that,
Oh
not
yeah,
in an
we are.
offensive way, but like you're scaling, right? And yeah, you're blowing up and you're selling lots of shit, but like as a going from small business to building and scaling a business, what's something like consumers should be mindful of? Like, we kind of, when I say this, like, it's really easy to hear about a product, get excited, and then think, like, especially in this case, right, we get to have a real conversation with the owner, right? I'm not talking to your social media influencer about like what
Right.
they're using and what they recommend and do. No, I'm talking to the guy that fucking served burgers and fries to get here, to
Yeah.
build this for you at one point in time,
Yep.
that raked bark dust and fucked around danced on a skid steer and then got bored with that, went to GE and ran overhead cranes and did different shit. And then now literally, like I could tell you like, hey, we should make a 3D barbarian
Let's do it.
cup holder, and you'd be like, I can do that,
Let's do
because
it.
that's what you tool nerds do. But yeah, exactly. And to now, like, to like your wife looking at you like, if this thing falls on the floor and scares me one more time, it's over. To now, like, literally getting to lay your head down at night and be like, people are safe. The world is safer because of something my hands built and my mind and my machining background. What's something like you guys got to understand, like when you go from that to like building an item and it takes off, like lead times come in. What's something that consumers could just be more mindful of? Being patient with some of these companies that
Well,
are like you that are growing.
just understand that, I have a family. I have three teenagers, a wife, two dogs, two cats.
Yeah,
I still work 40 hours a week outside of Holster Gator. Um, I love to hunt. I love to go hunting with my family. My entire family hunts, except the exception of one of my daughters. I love to fish. I'm human, and we have lives. And now we usually don't have lead times, and that's something that I do pride myself on. But like, I'm not this huge company that can just bark orders at the 500 employees that I have. It's you're looking at them. My wife does our books. I do the marketing, which
yeah,
I suck at. You're creative with pictures. I if I take a picture, it'll be the plainest damn thing you ever seen in your life. You don't even want to look at it for 2 seconds. So it's it's tough. It's tough juggling it all, but if rally your family behind a passion and you help them see the passion, and you know we carry each other. So just understand that we're a family. We're a family here. And when you become a customer,
yeah,
we're growing. And when you
yeah. And
become
you're
a customer
growing.
of ours, welcome to the family. That's the one thing that I pride myself the most on is every single one of our customers, with the exception of one. Um, they always say you make me feel like family. So that's a pride thing right there. I answer my customers back as soon as I can.
Well,
So,
yeah, that's attention to detail. So let's get into the weeds a little bit here, man. This, as we talked about a little bit again pre-show, but the show's about providing value. And although I think your story is incredibly valuable and you've shared golden nuggets throughout this thing, let, let's let's talk about some shit here, right? Because
all right.
let's get in. I'll just jump right in on this because there's a lot of people that are hobbyist passionate people. I talked about me with photography, right? There's other things I'm interested in, but what I really want our audience to understand is that you have 40 hours that you're giving to somebody else, and you have all these ideas spin around in your head. A lot of you listening to do, or somebody else, but you don't act on anything. And really, what you should be doing is searching for your own independence. Like, you shouldn't be relying on somebody else to know where that food or that check or whatnot is going to come from. And not that you're doing anything wrong if you're working a job, but let's talk about like scaling a business here. So, and even backing up a step back from that, like in today's world, man, what you got any advice for people that are like looking at starting a business? And don't give me, I'm just gonna say this, and this is maybe a shot across the bow. Some of these hunting influencers that or influences
Yeah.
out there, like you just got to chase your dream and go for it. like, yeah, it says the dude making $25 an hour that you could walk back to that job anytime you want. But for the guys making money in the 30s, 40s, 50s an hour even, and
Right.
more, it's not very feasible. We got a wife and kids to just risk it all and go film YouTube videos. So what's starting a
Well,
business?
first off,
What advice do you have to somebody like trying to look
the
at starting a
people that say,
business
just go for it,
in
I'm not
today's
knocking
world?
them at all, but those people have already made it. So it's easy to say that when you get to that point, but
Yeah.
even them, excuse me, there was a point where they were their idea was swirling around their head and it was giving them stomach cramps and it was keeping them awake at night. And that's called fear. And what the difference is between somebody who
Yeah.
lives in fear and runs from it, and the difference between somebody who lives and sees fear and uses that fear to drive them forward. That is what they transformed themselves into. They took that fear and they used it, and whatever means that they found worked best for them. Every single person is different. I had my own fears, and I just you grapple with those fears. If you want to cry about it, shed a few tears about it. If you want to go and it makes you sick to your stomach, go throw up. If you want to, sit down and rock back and forth in fetal position, do that. But get the fuck back up and use that fear and
Hmm.
use that fear to
That's it.
propel you forward. And when you do that, you you not only start to see that I had nothing to fear in the first place, but along the path to get to that point to where you realize there was nothing to fear in the first place, you're building your confidence, you're building your self-esteem, and you're building this huge network. And to the point where you can sit down and say, I fucking did this. So, so to those people out there that are just in their garage, I'm going
Yeah.
to
No,
correlate it to the holster makers, the hobbyist holster makers that we provide our product to. These guys are busting their ass in their garage. That's this is making one of these is not easy work. It is ball busting work. They're working with hot things in a hot ass garage, drilling holes and making mistakes and scrapping material, but they're doing it and they don't stop. And you can most people will say, and I was one of these people, oh, it's a holster. This is not just a holster. This holster comes from Lindahl Holsters. Jonathan Lindahl is the owner. We have holsters that are made by every single company that we supply our product to, and each one of them I can point out a difference in. And that difference is whatever they're forms of art, and no two artists are the same. And yeah, you have shitty holster makers out there, but we don't align ourselves with those people. And they're following their passion, and their passion they put into their product. So even if it's something that is a hobby to you, and you see, 50 people out there doing it, nobody's going to do it like you. So don't sit there and make the excuses. Yeah, well, there's 50 other companies doing it. I don't want to hear that shit. Nobody, Jonathan's not. There isn't a company that you run that does it. So pour your heart into it and stop belly aching about it and get out there and do it. And that's
No, that's real shit, dude. That's real shit. I mean, and that's great advice to. I want to piggyback off that a little bit and say if you're starting a company, like,
right.
don't do it because you think it will be cool. Like, don't do it because it sounds fun. Don't do it because some guy on the internet is driving a Lambo or something on his Instagram stories and says, jump in and do it. Don't do it because you think it's going to get you time to hunt more. Or no, like, do it
Yeah.
because you want to build something with your hands, because you want
That's right.
to leave your mark in the world, right? Like, do it because you want a legacy, or you want to provide a service, you want to help. I'm going to use this podcast or this in the network, right, as a parlay for my audience. Like, I'm not building this platform and this podcast today because tomorrow it will make me cool. I'm building this platform and this podcast and this network today because tomorrow it will help you. And tomorrow and in the future, that might benefit me, sure. Like,
Right.
I'm not naive to what it could be or what the reward could be. There's risk too, but I'm not naive to the risk reward assessment in this. However, what I care the most about is the impact that this could have on the world around me, the impact that this could have to our brothers and our sisters that are out there dragging their knuckles through the mud every day, wondering what's next, needing to hear from somebody that's a step ahead of them or even next to them, or maybe even a step behind them, just needing to hear that they're not alone in this fucking echo chamber of thought that they have that says there's more and that you can do more and that I should want to do this. So, like, not to steal your thunder, because dude, you said it beautifully, but like, if you want to build a company, like, and dude, I'm behind you right now. I'm behind you in this, but
Gave me
I'll
goosebumps
fucking
again.
die on this hill because it means something. You know what I mean? There's nothing fun about hell yeah, I'll take it. There's nothing fun about sitting in the corner of my garage on a stool when my back hurts because I just got beat the hell up for the first 8 hours of my day in a skid steer, and having a conversation, screwing up somebody's last name 3 minutes into your episode because you don't even know why, because you can't read, you have a lapse in read, whatever it is, right? There's nothing fun about that. I mean, sure, you get to laugh at the moment, but it's embarrassing on a professional. How did I do that? Like, right? But there's not anything fun about having to go and figure out who I'm going to talk to next, or how can I make this message more. That stuff's not the fun part. The fun part is when I get a message from somebody saying, dude, I was going to quit, or I was thinking about this and this helped me, or I was listening to this in my earbuds while I was working and a light bulb went off and now I'm doing this. Or even better is all the fuckers that are watching that don't say
Yeah.
shit, that don't comment, that don't like, that don't say, but go and do. And I know in some small way, because I see you take the
Right.
methods,
Yeah.
which, by the way, like you said, there's only one of me doing me, right? I see my methods start to go through other people. Funny story, some of the marketing schemes you see today, and I got to be careful about this, but it's not an ego thing at all. But some of those marketing strategies that you see from people where they're piggybacking off of, like, there's, say, 5 different companies all aligned and they all support each other, and I'll leave names out of it, but I'm sure some come to mind, right? They all do stuff together and then they all partner for giveaway stuff and they're all promoting each other and Google. Who do you think started
You.
that 2018? I'm just going to say that I built a company out there one time that linked a bunch of different companies and created circles where you work on things. And then all of a sudden now it's a marketing strategy that's out there. And I'm not going to say I'm the only one that did it. This is not, I'll digress on that. But I'm just saying, like, it's funny to see these circles and these trends and
Shot.
patterns come up because you took a shot. And that thing that I'm talking about didn't even work out for me. It didn't even work out for me. That old thing, it didn't. I learned some lessons, like you said. I got some mud on my face. Whatever. That was Kong Valley Collective. For those people who are wondering, like, it just didn't work. It didn't work. I tried to go too big, too fast with it, and it ended up biting me in the ass. But I learned a lot of lessons from that. And so it's when you say, like, when we're talking about specifically building businesses, and this is my next question to you. This will lead right into that. Is
Just
just
try.
quite frankly, you got to have the
Yep.
balls to just try.
Jesus Christ, man. Yeah.
Failure is feedback. Failure is
Facts.
feedback. And if you can learn to accept feedback in whatever form it's given to you, make an adjustment and keep going. Like, dude, the difference between your story where you have Holster Gator and the difference between your story and you don't, is the little bitch
Yep.
that stays in the mud crying because it got too hard and I couldn't do it and I gave up. Like that, the difference in the story is like when I slipped and fell off the ladder, I just sat there and stared at it, and I'm still just sitting there and staring at it. These companies, these people that you guys look up to, these influencers, they did the same thing. The only difference is when they fell off the ladder, they got back up, started climbing back up the damn ladder again. Literally, where I'm going with this is any single one of you guys in our audience are capable. Any one of you are capable, and that's why I'm picking the brains of people and men like you and women like Megan. I don't know if you listened to that episode, but just as a freaking young savage, just a young go-getter goes, my life is in shambles. I'm going to run a triathlon, a half Ironman I'm signing up for it 2.5 months before the event starts. And I've never done one. I've never rode a bike that far. I've never done it. I don't even have a bike, and I'm just going to do it and finish as top 3 first in her age. And anyway, I'll digress. You guys can listen to the episode with Megan Spinner on that one specifically. But that's why I'm picking your guys' brains, because like you are just as human as me. Megan is just as human as you. We're all just people. Every one of our guests that we've had so far, we're all just people that refuse to fucking quit, that refuse to accept mediocrity, because that's a fucking disease and it's a virus that's spread as this mediocre bullshit. Like, you were created for greatness, and I refuse. Like, look at you. If you would have at any time in your life tapped, people would be left safe in this world. But because you chose to pursue, I hope that gave you goosebumps, because that's some real shit right there. That's some real shit, dude. Because you chose to be a gladiator in the arena and just not give up on anything, on chasing more, whatever that was, on finding what the hell you're supposed to do. What can I do to do more in the world and provide more for my family? Let's be real. There's an aspect of pursuing money in this too, right? We're people. How can I provide better? Because you didn't quit when it got muddy, when it got tired, when it got heavy, when you didn't quit.
Yeah, and
The world is literally safer in this case, in this conversation. And so
man,
to our people out there that are trying to start a business,
dive right in,
don't
man, like it's
fucking
a
quit.
pool full of
Flat
pudding.
out. Do not quit. Right?
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And if you hit the bottom, just come back up to the
there ain't no.
top, give a bottle of air, go back in. I mean, shit happens. So I'll move on for this because we're on the time thing here. Before I get into some questions, I do want to ask you one more thing about building a business here, because you're at that scaling part. So for that guy for those of us that are already in, like, we've found our hobby and now we've parlayed it into taking it. How do you know
Yep.
when to, like, and you're still doing the full-time thing, so maybe you don't, I mean, I'm sure you have an answer for me, but how do you know when to scale from, okay, hobbyist to, like, this is it, like, I'm going to
Yeah. So
full no net, I'm
when
operating without a net, I'm going
that
for
came
it, right?
pretty dang quick for us. Um, I had one 3D printer, and I was making them. I was keeping it up with the friends and stuff like that. And then we got, by just so happened, the universe handed us Eclipse holsters, and they are one of the biggest holster makers in the country. And Jessica, the owner over there, she just, yeah, yeah, for real. And they're great
Makes
people.
incredible holsters, by the
She
way.
didn't know
Super
us.
rad.
She didn't have to take me under her wing. And that's the kind of people you want to align yourself with. Just good, wholesome, hard-working Americans that have ethics and morals. Anyways, took us under their wing, loved the product, and when it came to the point where Jess was like, I think we want to start selling these. Steph and I looked at each other and we're like, fuck. Like, so I don't know when the exact point came to when we had to scale up, but it was kind of difficult. It was financially taxing on our family. Thankfully, we had resources to reach out to. My dad um, lended us some money to get that going, and if he didn't, I would have just busted my ass even harder. But thankfully, he did, and we were able to scale up. And so, in saying that, you don't need somebody to give you help, but don't discount it either. If somebody's asked a friend, a family member, if somebody's asking you for help,
Sure.
check your pride at the door and and welcome it with open arms because those people will, they'll be your safety net and they will help you scale and take advantage of it because they will benefit from, the help that they provide. I don't know if that makes sense. I didn't articulate that very well, but
Sure.
yeah, just don't discount help. 'Cause
Oh, the hell you
I'm
didn't. That
stubborn.
makes
I am
complete sense.
one stubborn bastard. And
Complete sense.
when I never ask for help and people offer help, and actually my coworker um, Pat Allen, he kind of hammered this into me a couple years ago. He said, the people are asking you, they're not being polite by offering help. They're asking you if you need help because they want to fucking help you. So accept the help. And I was like, a light bulb went off in my head. I was like, you know what? Yeah, all right. I don't have to do this all alone. And if I had to do it all alone, it would just make it harder for me. But
No.
if I smell a challenge, I eat. So
Hey, on
yeah,
that note right there, I'm a shark, bud. There's blood in the water.
yeah,
Get the fuck out of my way. Like, you know what I'm saying? The world eats the weak. So, uh, no, that's incredible advice, man. Incredible. Well, listen, we're going to wrap up this portion of the show. We're going to have you back on to talk questions because I got some questions for you. So we're going to get into that. But before we get into the question aspect of the show, man, I just want to take a second and tell you thank you so much for coming on today and sharing the story of Holster Gator with us. And thank you for supporting this podcast from Jump. It legitimately would not be possible for me to do this or to offer our community anything without support from people like you taking risks on guys like me. And so from the entire team here, dude, I just want to thank you. And your story is incredible. I really hope people go ahead and rewind this, listen back. Like there's nuggets throughout this whole thing. And the story is resilience. I mean,
go.
I think the title of this episode is probably going to be manufacturing resilience, right? Like, because that is what you have
You're
done in
welcome,
this.
Jonathan.
So, Jason, again, dude, thank you so much for
Let
coming
me
on today.
let me leave you with a quote, and this is from a Greek soldier named Aeschylus. From a small seed, a mighty trunk may grow. And I have that tea bag hanging on my machinist toolbox at work, and I look at it every freaking day. So, from a small seed, a mighty tree may grow.
One more time.
A mighty trunk. From a small seed, a mighty trunk may grow.
Jason said it best. You just got to
So,
water that seed to get it to grow. So, thank you again, brother,
that's
and
right.
we'll see you here real shortly.